Hey everybody, hope you're all doing good. Today I have a pretty serious frustration I want to talk to you guys about. I was recently on a shoot and I used a variable ND filter by Tiffen that I had bought. It was about a $115 filter, $120 filter, and did a lot of research on this filter before I bought it. I was thinking maybe I'll buy one of those packs with all the different stops, but I didn't want to be, changing filters back and forth. I just wanted to stick with one filter. Figure the variable ND is the best one for me. Now, I was always one of those shooters who would just either crank up my f-stop or crank up my shutter to get the correct exposure. But we all know, if you crank up your shutter, you might get weird motion blur and not the correct motion blur. And if you crank up your f-stop, now it's not going to look as, I guess you could say, that shallow depth of field or cinematic look that you're looking for with that real nice shallow depth of field. So I figured I'll buy an ND filter and that should take care of my issues, which it did not take care of my issues. It gave me more issues. Issues that I wish I just would have cranked my shutter to the max because it ruined my footage. And the worst thing is, the client, when I delivered the video, I tried to correct as much footage as I could. I'll tell you how it ruined my footage in a second, but he told me, hey, and I had done work for him in the past, and he had said, hey, I love the cut, but what's wrong with the color? Something's off with the color. That's when I knew I am never using this Tiffen filter ever again. I'll just take it out here. Now, it's a solid filter. It feels nice, looks good, it looks professional, but I will never ever use this filter. Now, what it did, when I put this on my lens, I used, for the most part, this is a 1635 f4, and I'm using an A6500 here. For the most part, I'll just put it on. I don't think I'm going to shoot anything with it right here, but for the most part, I used this setup. I might have changed out a lens here and there, but this is the basic of the shots I took. Most of the shots I took were on this lens, this exact setup right here. So, looks good, right? Nice, okay. It's smooth, it's super smooth, but if I were to stop about halfway up, maybe a little bit less of half and a little bit more half, now I couldn't see it because using an A6500, unless you have an external monitor, and even with an external monitor, you can't really tell what your colors look like. It looks fine on the screen, right? It looks okay. I can't really necessarily tell the colors, again, because it's such a tiny screen. Even looking through the viewfinder, you can't really tell too much. And even with an external monitor, unless it's big and you have a LUT on there, because I'm shooting S-Log, you can't really tell. So I'm putting it back on the computer and I notice this crazy, and again, I know that if you stop all the way up on these, which you're not supposed to do, because everybody knows if you stop all the way up, you will see a color cast or you will see an X. And it's just kind of not, it's a no-no when it comes to these. So you figure you can probably go maybe 3/4 of the way up and have a good shot, a usable shot. Every ND filter, in my opinion, is going to give you somewhat of a very slight color cast, no matter how expensive or cheap. But this one, at about halfway, a little under, a little over, it would give me a crazy blue cast, like a U shape or just strange squiggly shapes of this blue, this like deep blue, ugly blue cast. Now, some of the shots in there, I really wanted to use in the cut because it made sense. And the amount of shots that I had that didn't have the blue cast were very minimal. So one shot in particular, which I'll show you here, I actually had to mask out the blue and recolor that part that I masked out and bump the exposure up, which something that I do when I shoot is I get things out quickly because I don't have the deadlines I have aren't like, oh yeah, take the next 2 months and make a video. No, it's kind of like You shoot, you edit, you get it out. That's kind of the nature of video production in some aspects these days. You know, you shoot, you edit, you get it out. I don't have time to sit on color correcting for a couple days. I just don't. You know, I have maybe 3-4 hours, get it color corrected, then finish the edit. That was just a very unfortunate thing that happened with an ND filter. I've seen people use ND filters before. I don't know if I got a bad one. What do you guys think? You think this is just a bad ND filter, or do you think, am I not using it right? What's going on with it? Because I'd love to use ND filters. Should I just buy the individual stops? Now I'm just kind of scared to use one. I would have much rather cranked up my shutter all the way and shot like that the entire time. It was very bright. The shots would have came out so much better. In my opinion, the color is a lot more important to me than, you know, having the motion blur maybe look a tiny bit off here and there, because a lot of the stuff I'm shooting isn't somebody playing basketball or throwing a baseball or frisbee or whatever. It's pretty much pretty slow moving things, walking around a track or hanging out and drinking a soda, whatever, you know, I'm just shooting some B-roll. So it was really frustrating for this not to work. So the question of, would I rather use an ND filter or crank my shutter? For me, I'll crank my shutter all day long if it's gonna save my footage. I've seen other YouTubers saying, oh, I'm gonna start using ND filters, and then I look at their videos after they start using it and I say, those shots don't look good. They don't look good. They have this crazy vignette and they're just not right. And I'm saying, just crank your shutter, man. Or bump up your f-stop if you want to be like correct in, you know, keeping all your settings perfect. In my opinion, if I could find an ND filter that, and I've used other ND filters too, and I still didn't like them, but this was the worst. As of now, I'd rather just crank my shutter. Does anybody else think that I'm using this wrong, or do they think that maybe if you get, you know, a $400 one, that will work good, or if you get a set of the individual stops, those will work good? Do they all have a cast? I don't know. I would like to use them though. But anyways, what do you guys think? Give me your opinions. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I would stay away from this Tiffen ND filter because it has given me a world of issues and problems. And this probably will just sit on my shelf forever. So thanks guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you like it and you want to see more videos from me, just, you know, subscribe, hit the like button. All right guys, thanks so much. Peace out.